Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the FIA GT World Cup from the famous Macau circuit. It's the 2019 version of it, and we've been racing GT cars here for over a decade at this level. And over those years, it's become more and more prestigious with every race we do here. It's a beautiful day here on the South China coast, and we look forward to what should be another classic GT encounter. It's an all-German affair this year, and what I mean by that is all the cars on display are the best that Germany can make, and that means it's BMW, Mercedes and Audi, and that's just fine by me. If anybody wants to challenge that, then look after yourselves. Porsche, of course, shouldn't leave them off. All four ready to go and ready to put on a great show. Alongside me, Jonathan Green, once again will be Alan Hyde, and we look forward, as you can see, the cars starting to form up on the grid for what will be a rolling start. This effectively the qualifying race or qualification race for another second GT race tomorrow. But as we've seen in the past, Alan, anything can happen, and with these big, monstrously powerful cars and this very long straight of almost 2 kilometers, it really does put the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, don't they, in anticipation of a race like this, because it doesn't get any bigger, it doesn't get any faster, and the drivers we've got on hand are, without doubt, the best in the world.
Fantastic scene down underneath our commentary box here at the Circuito de Guia, the Macau Grand Prix. The scene for the 66th running of this event, and as each year goes by, the GT World Cup, the FIA GT World Cup, the SJM Macau GT Cup gets more and more interest, doesn't it? The significant interest, of course, is from the spectators and fans around the world watching on for this qualification race today and the World Cup tomorrow, but also the interest from manufacturers, the huge names in global automotive and performance automotive and in racing around the world as well. 4 huge hitters in global motorsport with Mercedes, Audi, Porsche and BMW all here to battle for the World Cup tomorrow.
Well, when you put the combination of what is, I think, almost without doubt, the most challenging circuit in the world, you slap the name FIA on it and you slap the name World Cup on it, and then the manufacturers really just cannot help themselves. They want to be part, they want to win it, and they want to go into the winter as the best manufacturer in the land, if not the world. And we've certainly got that here. These 2 cars that you're looking at right now are certainly in contention. And it's interesting because Porsche haven't had the luck of late. This is a race that's been dominated by Audi and Mercedes over the years. And funnily enough, last year BMW, who are back to defend their title with the same driver. But as these 2 Porsches sneak their way through to the front of the grid, Porsche have definitely put a benchmark down for those to chase, because they are the cars to beat today. But so too are Mercedes, because right at the death of qualifying, how did Raffaele Marciello do it? He beat them both.
It was a very, very impressive final lap in qualifying yesterday, wasn't it? Right at the end of the afternoon. It had been a busy day, a long day with stoppages, and then the final session on track was qualifying for this qualifying race, and right at the end, after a break in the action, Raffaele Marciello with a 2:15.669 right at the end. So impressive in the mean green Mercedes.
One man who's had a few offs this weekend, but is ready to go as he tightens the straps, or loosens them actually, because they've just done a sort of sighting lap to get themselves prepared. And now they relax and sit back, get some words of advice from their engineers. And this man's also been in the wars, another Chinese driver. And of course, I'm talking of Adderley Fong from Hong Kong, China. And he is, without doubt, a great character. And I've watched him grow through the ranks as a junior here in Hong Kong, or just down the road in Hong Kong, but coming to Macau every year. And he's raced in single-seaters, and he is a prolific talent in GT cars now here in Asia, and was a worldwide talent and still is, having gone to as a reserve driver in Formula One and so on. Great career so far for young Adelaide Fong, and definitely one to watch. It's so crowded down there that it's really hard to stay relaxed, but it doesn't seem to borrow Mr. Picarello, who is rather relaxed, and talking to another former winner here, Darryl Young from Craft Bamboo, one of the top men from Craft Bamboo setup, and has had his own amazing history here. Here's last year's winner, Augusto Farfus, and I can't really put my finger on what's gone wrong, but he was out-qualified by his teammate, Joel Eriksson, and yeah, he just hasn't shined, has he, this weekend?
Which is, yeah, as perplexing for us as it probably is for the team as well, because BMW won the World Cup last year. They only had one car, they only needed one car. Augusto Farfus flying the flag for BMW. I see M-Town have got their own little hospitality section just above the pit lane. They are, of course, also the suppliers of the official car here at Macau. So one car last year, it won the World Cup. Two cars this year, and unfortunately struggling for pace.
Charles Wirtz at the back of his resplendently painted Audi, and a beautiful car at that. Audi very, very, very competitive here again this year. So it's going to be a really interesting fight. And the Swiss driver, one of two Swiss drivers in the race for Absolute Racing, another top team here from Asia, looking rather a little bit warm in there, Alexandra Imperatori. And yeah, it'll get pretty hot pretty quick down there, won't it?
The temperature rising and rising. First thing this morning when the Formula 3 cars had their qualification race, 29 degrees was the track temperature. We've seen, we've been out actually and watched the motorcycles out on track. It's very warm out there, clear skies, sunshine as well. And in the middle of the afternoon on Thursday, 39 degrees the track temperature got up to. So you can just kind of guess what it's going to get up to inside the cockpit of these big brutes.
Yeah, talking of big brutes, there's another Audi in the hands of Christopher Haas, who's raced here before, and definitely one of the top Audi drivers in the world.
Yeah, last year, sixth place last year in the World Cup.
Did good.
Good guy is Christopher Haas.
And here's the man that needs no introduction in many ways. Lean, mean and green this year. There he is, Eduardo Mortara. He's won GTs, he's won F3, he's won Audi, but now he's with Mercedes. And yeah, 7 wins in all in those categories, but also some qualification race wins as well. So his tally right up there with Rob Huff and all those others that have had such a brilliant history here. He's known as the King of Macau, but he's don't have the easiest of runs. He's 6th on the grid, and he's behind this man, Mauro Engel, who also has 2 wins here. And I think that's what's so good about this field this year, is just how many returning champions, not just drivers, but the manufacturers as well, that have beaten each other over the years. And that's why we've got a really interesting lineup of talent, both driver and manufacturer. Mauro Engel, another super guy, loves coming to Macau, always enjoys the experience. Interesting to see what he could do today. And then the Vantors, 2 of them here this weekend, but the older one is Lauren. Lauren Vantor too has a great history here, the 27-year-old, and he's brought his brother this time. Well, I say he hasn't brought his brother, but his brother is racing. And that'll be an interesting battle because his brother's out-qualified him. How's your German?
Nicht so gut.
Nicht so good. Okay, fair enough. I won't trouble you with that then. But Lauren Vantor having a last few words. Earl Bamber's got to be one of the favourites here. He's had a fantastic, I don't know how many times he's won at Macau, but he's won a fair few times. Been racing here since he was probably a 16-year-old, 17-year-old in Formula BMW, I think. He came here, he certainly won, or certainly took part in Porsche Carrera Cup Asia races here, and certainly won one of them, if not many more. And here's Dries Vantor. I mentioned him before as the brother of Lauren, but he's only 21, is Dries. He's out-qualified his brother in the Audi. And so it's going to be an interesting battle between Porsche and Audi and two brothers in different cars.
Spectacular looking car, isn't it?
Yeah.
The liveries that they come up with for the FIA GT World Cup, the SJM Macau GT Cup, are always impressive. Good deal of thought goes into it.
Talking to be impressive, how about the Mercedes-AMG team Group M Racing entry of this man, Raffaele Marciello of Italy. Unbelievable qualifying where he zoomed around here in a 2:15.6 to narrowly defeat Dries Van Tor. But I think when you consider the size of that Mercedes and how he whisked it round the back section,
also
with alacrity.
Yeah, the pressure was on. It was the final lap.
It was.
And it was so impressive and perfectly timed as well. Right at the end of the session. Very impressive lap, that. The only real surprise right at the end of the session was seeing Marciello leap to the top of the times on the final lap.
So here we are. Let's take a look at the grid. On the front row is your poleman, 999. No emergency, though, for Marciello. And alongside him, Dries Van Tor. On the row 2, it's Earl Bamber and Lauren Van Tor. Row 3 sees Maro Engel and Eduardo Mortara, both multiple winners of this race. Christopher Haas and Kelvin Vanderlyn, the South African, who has impressed this weekend, and looking for big things from him. And then Alexandra Imperatori alongside Charles Wirtz, and Joel Eriksson taking on the gear circuit for the first time in a GT car, having been runner-up in last year's F3 race here, and Augusto Farfus, the defending champion for the famous Schnitzer BMW team. A little further down, and it's Eliseo Picarello. We saw him earlier. And Rudolf Bruins from Korea, the only Korean entry, I think, in the whole of the Macau Grand Prix this year. And behind them, a Hong Kong and Chinese entry. One is Adelaide Fong, the other is Chen Weien. And one in an Audi, one in a Mercedes. But it just shows you how this field is now also including some of the great Asian champions. Kevin Estra, fresh off his win in Shanghai, has struggled a little bit, to be fair, in the Porsche, and I'm going to keep an eye on him because his qualifying position does not show his form. Absolutely.
He was expected to be right up at the front, and things haven't gone according to plan in qualifying, so expect that 912 Porsche from 17th on the grid to really make up places early on. Reigning champion, Augusto Farfus.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, Alan. I feel that the start of the GT race, because of the power, because of the size of the cars, and because of the racecraft skills of the drivers, that if you don't get the start you want, if you're in 10th position or you're in 7th, it's very hard to come through.
It is. They are huge and powerful machines, as you rightly say, and once they get into the second and third sectors of the circuit, the very technical, twisty, tight, demanding, as we call it, mountain section of the Guia circuit, then yeah, the huge GT cars, well, if you can make up the places before Lisboa, then thanks very much. And that all happens off the line, because it's not going to happen on the mountain section.
And the other is also having almost eyes in the back of your head, because 9 times out of 10, although this field, to be fair, all 17 are world-class drivers.
As you were going down the grid, I was about to say, when you introduced first driver, second driver, third driver, start delayed, by the way. We'll come back to that in a moment. But I was about to say, yep, good driver. Yep, good driver. Yep, good driver. And it was pretty much right the way down the grid as you go down. This is top-class GT drivers from around the world, all convening on Macau. So we're now just
delayed by some 10 minutes.
So a delay to the start by 10 minutes, which is quite surprising.
And quite tough on these guys. You can see all the doors are open because it's hot. It's very hot. We took a walk a minute ago, and
26 degrees.
Yeah, well, and it feels hotter, doesn't it?
72% humidity, which is not as humid as it can get here at Macau. It felt very pleasant when we were out sitting in the grandstand watching the motorcycles, which incidentally are as jaw-dropping as the GT cars that we're about to see.
Yeah, true.
For different reasons. Everything that comes here to Macau is perfectly selected to make quite a spectacle for the huge crowd that we have here, because they get to see racing. They see a qualification race today, they get to see the World Cup tomorrow. Eduardo Mortara, just with his one engineer, who will remain alongside, but we don't necessarily know the reason for the
delay. But I can only presume, or I'm guessing anyway, that either some of the safety trucks aren't in position just yet after the lunch break, or the track needs a little bit more cleaning up to do. Just to give me time to give you a little bit of an idea, though. Farfus has been doing the FIA World Touring Car Cup, and before that, 24 Hours of Daytona, got a win there. This man, number 99, has also been pedaling around the world. Laurent Van Toor of Belgium. His 5th visit, and he too has been racing in IMSA in 2019, where they won the GTLM class, and also did the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the LMGT Pro class. So you're looking at Le Mans racers, Le Mans winners. Bamba, definitely one of them. And like you said, the class of field, Rafael Marciello, well, his record is pretty impressive. He started racing here. He's raced here in Formula 3 back in the day, and was actually joined the Ferrari Academy junior team, F1. Now here's the famous tracks. S1 is almost flat out. It is flat out, almost 2 kilometers. S2 starts to get a little wiggly and uphill through the mountain section. And then S3, that's sector 3, again downhill then from there on in, just past the Melco, and then sector 4 speeds up again, and it's a long run down through Fisherman's Bend and our bend to complete the 6-kilometer course here at Macau. And that's why it's a real gamble between setup here. You don't want to get too much downforce on the car and wing on the car, because you'll slow yourself down on the straights, but you don't want to be too light on the mountain section so that the car is a handful. But you watch this man, LKM sponsored Earl Bamber. I think he is, if there comes to a specialist, if Eduardo Mortara is a specialist, then Earl Bamber is round here too. But watching Dries Van Toor this weekend, I've got a feeling this could be his day. And now the race has been delayed until further notice, and that is bad news, because that can only mean a longer delay. And I would have said, if I was a team manager, I would think that that's going to mean quite a long delay, and I'd get my driver out of the car.
I might be about to get word on this. I'm standing by for an answer.
Okay. And there's the sensible man, out of the car and in the shade.
Potentially, this may be opportunity, if the start is significantly delayed, for me to go down and have a chat to a few drivers on the grid. That's
be awesome.
A possibility that we might be having a look at. Yep, confirmation that the problem is with the start lights.
Oh,
so
ironic.
Technical problem with the start lights is what I'm receiving up here.
Well, the drivers will be all getting out, because they won't want to sit there and just boil themselves. So yeah, if you do get a chance, I would suggest you do. But so we have a delay here at Macau. We welcome you around the world. We can't do anything about little technical problems, but
Start delay until further notice. Mechanics have access to the grid.
So now the mechanics will come back on and get access to the grid.
Start delay until further notice. Thank you.
So the bellowing voice of former Hong Kong policeman George Munro ringing out across the track, giving us the command that there is going to be a long delay. So we're going to dispatch Mr. Hyde and see how long and how quickly he can get down there, and maybe get a word with a few drivers. So then, we've got a slight delay, but this is the drama. This is all what part the plays in Macau. The thing about Macau is if you come with your usual procedure, that you as a racing driver or a team engineer or a mechanic, then that's a foolhardy way to approach Macau, because the bottom line is things happen here. There's a lot of racing. It's a street course. Track needs to be repaired or cleaned up now and again. And in this case, something we've never really experienced, I don't think, but we've got a technical problem with the starting procedure, which is crucial here, especially as that involves the whole circuit. And so they will want to sort that out as soon as they can. Here's Mr. Macau getting out the car. Is he due another win, I wonder? Found himself in the barriers earlier in the weekend down at Lisboa, but they extricate him out of that. So they've allowed the mechanics back onto the track. As we look at Rudolf Bruin's car, the man from Korea, South Korea. And everybody texting out. What's going on? And don't forget, if you are tuning in, give us some comments on Facebook. Let us know what your thoughts are on the racing here at Macau. And if you've got a question for any of our drivers or teams, we'll try to get it answered for you. And in fact, I've sent Alan hurriedly down to the grid to see if he can have a quick chat. The drivers have nothing better to do, and it will always be a good insight to talk to some of them about what lays ahead. Quite unique to have a full grid of all German marques: Mercedes, Audi, Porsche, and BMW. Kelvin van der Linde's car, number 31. He's had a good weekend so far in terms of practicing, qualifying, no issues. And it's been fast and at the top and sharp end of each and every session that he's taken part in. And that blanket just trying to reflect the heat here. It's pretty hot down there, I can assure you. It's hot in this commentary booth, never mind being in a huge machine. And if you've just joined us, we've got a delay for the start of our GT World Cup Part 1, I may add. It's a qualification race. We'll have another race tomorrow afternoon. In fact, I can tell you exactly when it will be. It will be at local time, 12:25 p.m, so just after lunch. And that will be an 18-lap GT race. And this one a little shorter at 12 laps, but no less exciting. And this could be a real nitty-gritty race, because any damage you sustain or any problems you may have could lead on to problems tomorrow. And therefore, you've got a choice. You either stay out of trouble in race 1 and make it to the finish and be happy with what you get, or you go for broke and try to get up the grid to give yourself a starting position worthy of a podium tomorrow. Now, I know that the latter is what most of these drivers will try to do. That said, easier said than done. Good crowd as ever here for the 66th running of the SJM Macau GT Cup, or the 66th running of the Sun City Group Macau Grand Prix. This is the SJM Macau GT Cup, 12th running of it, and I think this is probably one of the best fields we've ever conjured up here. And I can just see out the corner of my eye, Mr. Hyde is making his way to the grid, so hopefully we'll hear from him in a minute. Men to watch out for, definitely Eriksson and Farfus. They're down in 11th and 12th, and of course BMW were the winners of this race last year. for Schnitzer and Augusto Farfus, but Farfus struggling somewhat, but just because he's struggling qualifying does not mean that he won't have a good race weekend. Now we've just got the 10-minute board. We'll be at 13:20. That's 5 minutes from now, so we've got a good 15 minutes. So hopefully we'll be able to hear from Alan. Now he's gone all the way down there. And also meant to watch, definitely, obviously, Mortara. His wins here have been electrifying. But Rafael Marchiello, no question about it. I think that lap came from almost nowhere. So let's see if he can keep that Mercedes and the hopes of Mercedes alive and stay out front. He needs a good start, and he's got a very fast Audi. Crowd on their feet in front of me here in the hospitality tents, getting ready. He's going to introduce us to the whole team, I think. Thumbs up at the moment. Everybody's trying to stay cool and calm. It might be November here in Macau, but it's very warm at the moment. Great place for a holiday this time of year. Now, talking of cool and calm, let's head down to Alan Hyde. He's down on the grid. Let's see what he's going to do.
Opportunity to get a word with a few of the drivers, I think, down here on the grid, and Mauro Engel is making the most of it and getting a bit of shade. You have to prepare yourself for the unexpected here, don't you, Mauro?
Yeah, seems like there's an issue with the lights, which they're fixing at the moment. So yeah, probably the right thing to delay that, because if the lights don't play as you want them to play, it could be quite a mess. Just
take me through what it's like for a driver when you've got yourself ready, you know the start time of the race, you've gone through all the checks on the formation lap to get down to the grid, and then all of a sudden you're told, hang on, I know you're all strapped in and ready to go, but we're not going to do it yet, and we can't tell you when.
Yeah, well, it's exactly that. You're prepared, you're ready, you know, car's ready, you're ready, team's ready, I think the spectators on TV are ready, and then it just had delay, so you just sort of reset and try and calm down, relax again, get back in the zone once we get back in the car.
Is the adrenaline that pumps through your veins before this race more than anywhere else? Because to watch it's a stressful and enjoyable activity in equal measure to watch a race, a GT race in particular around Macau.
Yeah, it's definitely a special one. You can feel the anticipation, I think, everywhere. Certainly for a driver, you know, here, you know, the start's crucial, and whatever happens from here to turn 3. And yeah, it's a special race, and obviously there's high stakes and a bit of tight walls around you. So yeah, it's always a bit of a special one here.
Can you take me through I mean, we've got a long time to talk, Mauro, so I can take all the time in the world here. I'd like you to take me through the weekend, because we haven't got the story yet so far. You're a winner here at Macau, and every year the stakes are raised a little bit higher by the manufacturers. Audi showed their hand a little bit later than expected during the weekend. It had been Porsche's thus far until Audi were at the front. What about your story in the Mercedes?
Yes, obviously Porsche looked to be the favourites going into qualifying. It was quite a messy qualifying session. On my end, messy day yesterday. Seems like a stone punctured the radiator early on in free practice 2, so I didn't get any meaningful laps in there, which was a shame. And then yeah, the disrupted qualifying was just pretty hard to get a rhythm, because it seemed like every time you had the tires ready to go, the red flag came out. So in the end, it was a bit of a lottery, like we know Macau to be. And yeah, big kudos to Marcello Tilello. He pulled out a great lap at the end. My lap wasn't quite as good as I'd liked it to be, and that's why we're on P5 in the grid. And it's a lot of work to do. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. Try and get ourselves back into contention.
10 minutes to go, Mauro. We're just getting indications. Thank you very much indeed for having a chat to me. So the countdown is on now. We've got 10 minutes, so they've got the lights working now. So whether I'll get the chance to just maybe quickly have a word at the front of the grid. Follow me. Let's walk through past the two Porsches where Lawrence Ventura is just about to get into his Porsche. Rafael Marciello is standing by. Where is Dries Ventura? Standing right at the front of the field. See if we can get a quick word with Dries. Can we pop over and have a chat? This is an event that you can't really prepare yourself for, isn't it?
No, it's something very special. I mean, to race here in the streets of Macau is not something you cannot really prepare yourself for as well. So it's just to come here, try to do your best, learn as fast as possible, adapt as fast as possible, and try to be as quick as possible.
Sometimes we can't predict which manufacturer is going to come out on top on a weekend quite like this, and Audi showed their hand slightly later in the 2 days that we've had previous. Thus far it had been the Porsches.
Yeah, I mean, I think we started off the weekend, I mean, at our pace. I mean, I think we just made the right changes going into qualifying, and then just, well, let everything go. Me as a driver nailed most of the corners, I would say. And the setup was just perfect, working well, and the car was performing well, like always. So now it's just about who will be the quickest in the race, and will be, of course, today is Saturday, we have to focus on tomorrow, but of course we want a better starting position than today.
I can't hold you up for too long. You need to get ready now. Thank you very much indeed for having a chat to us. So what about a quick word with Rafael Marciello, who's right at the front of the grid here? He's having a chat to the team. Well, that was unpredictable. Almost as unpredictable as that final lap of qualifying yesterday. That was absolutely superb.
Yeah, it was quite amazing, but it was yesterday. Now we have to focus in today's race.
So the car has got great pace. Obviously you didn't know you were going to have this little delay, and you're all keyed up for the start of the race, and you have to get yourself ready once again now.
Yeah, same for everyone, so it's okay.
You know what Macau is like, don't you?
Yeah, it's important to stay in front, yeah.
Okay, very good. You're happy with the car. Good luck. Thank you very much indeed, Rafael Marciello. Now, we know that the drivers have got to get themselves ready. We've had a short call now. We've got less than 10 minutes until we can get this GT World Cup race underway.
Good work. Nice stuff, Alan. Really appreciate that. And Alan Hyde down on the grid there, giving us an insight from the drivers. I always quite like a delay because we get a chance to talk to the drivers. It's interesting talking to Rafael, and there's no question he's got the experience here. He came here first time in 2012, where he took 8th place in the Formula 3. Followed that up with, well, he had a DNF the following year in 2013, and now he's back for his 3rd visit in GTs. Yet to really have, well, his best finish here is a top 9. So there's every reason to think that Rafael Marciello fancies his chances here, both from pole position and the fact that he's never won here at Macau. But now in that Mercedes AMG GT3, he has a opportunity with Group M Racing to do just that. And like any good racing driver, he immediately moved on from yesterday's qualifying when asked about it and said, yeah, that was yesterday. Now I'm going to do it again. And he's absolutely right. These guys are the Zen maestros. They do quite literally live in the moment. But they need to, because every moment, every corner here, especially at Macau, is blind. They have to react. Sometimes the lights don't work, and so then they have to realign. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. Get a little bit of a jump and jacks, get the blood flowing as Dries Ventura steps into his machine that will hopefully lift him towards victory. And yeah, when we think so often in motor racing of the battle between the drivers, as we often do in Formula 1, and if you like, the team's championship or the manufacturer's championship is still very hard fought, but it's just not as highlighted. Here in the GTs, you would argue that really it is the manufacturers who are out to win it, and these guys, the drivers that is, are more the hired guns to win for the factory. And it's not a matter of who wins, it's a matter of which mark wins. And in fact, you'll see the Mercedes, the Porsches often work together if they can. It's very hard to do in a race, but if they can work together, especially in the closing stages of the second race, you may well see a little bit of teamwork. Augusto Farfus, alongside him, his teammate Joel Eriksson, and Joel, the Swede, was second here, as I mentioned, in F3. So knows the circuit well, as does Augusto. Well, Augusto doesn't need any introduction to this circuit. He's raced here in touring cars, now in GTs, and yeah, he's got a pretty good knowledge of it, and has won in touring cars and in GTs here. And there is Joel Eriksson. Super guy. Still got a long way to go in his career, but this is a big opportunity for him too, to join this field and be counted, making his debut in the GTs. Got 11th in DTM this year. And here's your grid one more time for the FIA GT World Cup. On front one, it's Rafael Marciello and Dries Van Tor, then Earl Bamber and Lauren Van Tor. Will it be a happy Van Tor day, or will they succumb to some of them who behind them, like this man, Mauro Engel, who's had 2 wins here, a second and 2 thirds. Eduardo Mortara has won 7 times here. Christopher Haas and Kelvin van der Linde, all prospects, all capable. And then further down, Alexandra Imperatori and Charles Wirtz. Joel Eriksson. And alongside him, last year's winner, Augusto Farfus Jr. That's row 6. A little further down, it's not a big grid, but you don't need one, is Eliseo Picarello in the Mercedes, and alongside him, Roloff Bruins. Adelaide Fong and Chen are further back than perhaps Adelaide Fong certainly's ability would be, but he had a crash and therefore didn't get to take part in a lot of the session yesterday. I'm going to keep an eye on him because I think he's going to come through, and likewise Kevin Estra should be in that Absolute Racing missile that is the Porsche right at the back, should also be coming through. So we're going to keep a watchful eye on the guys at the back as well. This could be a lot of fun, folks. 12 laps, we've got the starting lights sorted, and we are about to get going. Never easy a delay like this. You never know how it's going to affect. Everybody looks cool and calm on camera, but like I said, you've got to wait for the unpredictable at Macau, and yeah, each one of these drivers is pretty much like the machine themselves, programmed for this time of day and programmed to go through a procedure. But when that program has to reset, it doesn't all boot up at the same time, and you never know. It can change the way you feel. A little bit of heat too much, a little bit of dehydration perhaps. You saw a lot of the drivers heading out. They take a lot of fluids on in the hot and heat like this. And also you've got a lot of concentration to think about. It's a tiring, mentally tiring and physically tiring endeavor. And as you will see if you're just tuning in for the first time, with one of these GT cars, it's a real struggle to get round and fight the car, quite literally, to keep it on the ground. There's way more power than is needed at a track like this in these cars. And so what you're doing is you're trying to go fast, but effectively hold back the machine from pushing you into a wall and an obvious mistake. But this man, Augusto Farfus, is a master at it. Okay, on goes the ignition. Well, at least he thought he was. He'll have another go. He's got it going. So we are about to get underway, and I'm glad to say that my good friend Alan Hyde, great stuff down on the grid, getting us a really good insight into what was happening and some really interesting perspective. Everybody, I was just saying, everybody says they're cool and calm, but you know, when you do a reset like this, the drivers themselves are like machines. They don't like it much.
You can't prepare for it.
Right.
That's the thing. and that was very much my sort of the thinking behind the questions I was asking for down on the grid. You do, as you rightly say, you have to reboot, reset. They've got themselves, they know what's going to happen, they know what time it's going to happen, and then all of a sudden, I mean, expect the unexpected, and you've got to go through your whole process of getting ready for the start of the race all over again. they've done really good work to the technical department here to get that technical glitch sorted out, and now we can get things underway.
Really important start for the front row, boys, especially this man Marciello.
He was very cool about that lap, wasn't he?
Well, I said when I backtracked, I backed off what you said and said it's interesting that Marciello, when asked about yesterday's brilliant lap, was not really interested in talking about it because he'd moved on. Like any racing driver, had said, yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah,
I was brilliant. Thanks for that.
Today's today.
Today's today.
Yeah.
I may not be brilliant today.
Yeah.
One man I'm sure will be brilliant is Mortara. He's an entertainer. He's a lovely fella. They're even selling his cars, the miniature cars. It's great coming into the circuit this morning. There's all sorts of replica cars. You can get it on. I've got one at home, which is an Andre Couto Formula 3. Ooh. Now. Oh, that's Eliseo Picarello, who was actually mid-grid. So that's the man who was starting 13th on the grid. Oh, no.
It's going to be pushed.
Let's get him going. Come on, folks.
No, back, they say. So to get the car off the grid before the rest of the field comes round.
Can they push him now to the pit exit?
There's a gap in the barrier, just near to where the car is on it.
Yeah, no, what I'm getting at, because can they now
get him down the pit lane,
jump start him or get him started and have him start as the rest of the field. I mean, he was 13 out of 17, so he's lost places on the grid. It's not where you want to be.
If the problem is that simple to rectify, yeah, possibly.
Yes, I was going to say, it's going to have to be something fairly major for him to not be able to go round. Did you enjoy your little expedition?
Do you know, I did. And the reason being, we talk about television pictures, and when you're actually down there and feeling the atmosphere down there, my interesting chat for me was, because it was before the 10-minute countdown, was with Maro Engel.
Yeah,
just in the shade, leaning on the barrier, happy to talk about every aspect of the weekend so far. Just didn't get qualifying quite right, but he's a former winner here at Macau.
Yeah, I'm going to say, these are the stories that you pick up. You didn't hear about the radiator problem or the...
Exactly, puncture in the radiator.
Yeah, so these are things that we wouldn't find out even if we tried.
No, because when we finish in the commentary box at the end of the day, many of the drivers that have competed during the day have gone off to the hotels, yeah. The other thing that was notable when I was down on the grid was just how young these drivers are to be just this good.
Yeah, I mean, it was very noticeable when you talk to Dries. He is just a youngster. On board with Che Weian of China in the Audi Sport Asia Team TSRT Audi R8 LMS. He is one of the silver drivers. And we can perhaps explain that while we've got the formation lap. You've got bronze, silver, gold, and platinum drivers. And that is how GTs work. And sometimes you can pair up in a GT race and have two drivers, but you can't have, for example, two platinums in a team. So that's kind of, it's and obviously a platinum is like a championship winning guy who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And I guess in terms of this race, the least experience will be the silver, of which there are just 4 drivers. Roelof Bruins is one, Chen, who I mentioned, is another, and Charles Wirtz, the Belgian, is another silver. So we're about to go racing at Macau. What a glorious sight.
And I'll tell you what, that's the first time we've seen graphically just how far back the BMWs are. So therefore,
amazing, isn't it?
How much work they have to do.
A lot of work. Now, you'll watch them form up now and into side-by-side file, and they form effectively a rolling grid. We look back from Eduardo Mortara. He's looking for a scintillating start. The crowd all on their feet, all their phones up in the air, getting ready for what should be the unleashment of huge power and speed here at Macau. A beautiful sound and a beautiful sight as Rafael Marciello leads them away to start the race. Away he goes, comes side by side with Dries van Toor, but gets the better of him, and it's Mercedes who leads Audi. Coming into the Mandarin for the first time, jostling for position. Maro Engel pops out. The 2 Porsches look racy already, and Dries trying to get some track position as they go through the Mandarin corner. Will everybody make it? Oh, Maro Engel scraped the wall then, and that was a moment. Oh no, Dries van Toor is out.
And you just saw the puff, didn't you? And that was the scrape.
Mortara getting into the action, and behind him, 2 cars. Maro Engel's been in the wars twice already. But Dries van Toren, the first faller at the first fence here in this race, and now he's just planted it. Look, he already had a puncture from being hit, and he just couldn't get round the corner. And unfortunately, that could well bring out the safety car if they don't get him out of there. There's a crane right there. But that was, you know, I had high hopes for Dries.
Me too.
And what a shame. Meanwhile, as they say, back at the front, Rafael Marciello now leads the Porsches, who are second and third. They've done a good job of moving themselves forward, and we expected Porsche.
So too Mortara, he's up to 4th.
Yeah, that's a good start from Mortara. And it was Maro Engel who confirmed that they think, you know, the dipstick is that Porsche will be the team to beat here today.
And it was a very good start by the 2 Porsches as well. They were instantly having a look at the Audi of Dries van Toren until that scrape and subsequent finish of the race down at Lisboa. Very disappointing for the Audi driver after a very, very impressive qualifying. Thread their way for the first time through the Macau hairpin.
And now we see the whole order of the teams coming through, and you can see, and that's David Chen, stuck in the number 66. He's had some problems this weekend, has David, and yep, Chen Weyen, and the Audi, he's one of the least experienced drivers here. He's made a mistake, and let's hope it doesn't bring out a safety car, because the leaders are now completing their first lap. A brilliant
safety car.
Yeah, too late. 2:21 by Marciello.
And this is absolutely fascinating, because what we're seeing is that the Mercedes that leads the race,
yeah,
that's the reason for the safety car.
Yeah, and he's at police as well, and that is, well, he's going to do a 4.5-point turn, but David trying to get it going, and he's got it going. It's a shame. I mean, there's 2 reasons for the red flag. One is that car, but also, more importantly, the 25 parked of Dries van Toren down here in a moment. You'll see him momentarily. In fact, you'll see him right now.
And the fabulous thing about this is we are seeing the battle between the manufacturers, because Mercedes it is that leads, and the Porsche was right with Marciello.
Now they've got the crane over the top of him. They will wield him out of danger and harm's way. But it does make an interesting race now, because Marciello has really got a game on his hands. He's got the 2 very fast Porsches of Bamber and Van Toren behind him, and then Mr. Macau from Switzerland, Eduardo Mortara, in a similar Mercedes. Now remember, like I said before, this is about individuals. They all want to win individually. Here's another look at what happened at the start. Yeah, Dries van Toren just scraped the wall. Now, they put new barriers, but that was very late on. And, yeah, he just smashed into... That's a classic Mandarin mistake. Just a little too hard, too fast, too hot on that first lap. And, yeah, sometimes you can come away with that, but not this time.
So disappointing.
And here is, yeah, the Chinese driver, David Weyen, coming round at police. But yeah, so like I said, it's going to be interesting. It is a battle between the drivers, but it's also a battle for the manufacturers. This was the start. Looking back from Eduardo Mortara. So it's a great view, isn't it? Starts to accelerate just to sort of keep the temperature in the tyres, and eventually he's just coming up to the last corner now. Now he'll start to accelerate. Here we go. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? You had to wait there for quite some time for the leader. Now, Maro Engel, look at that.
What a shot that is.
What a shot.
Super.
This is fantastic. And now Maro Engel tries to come alongside him as they head towards Mandarin, and we'll certainly see a fantastic view here of what unfolds, because you watch to the right now of your shot coming through Mandarin. This is where the mayhem begins. You don't quite see it. You see Dries disappear. But look at this, coming into the first corner. Ooh, he's had a face full of... that was a great move. by Kelvin van der Linde, I think.
I could watch the whole race like
I was
this.
going to say, yeah, it's really good. But Mortara did a good job to get through there. But really, really good shots. And he's just ahead, Mortara, of Kelvin as they head through Maternity Bend. Yeah, I love this angle. This is awesome.
It's great, isn't it?
And here we are. Now let's have another look. Alan, what do you see? Look, they came very close. Good aggressive driving from Marciello to keep his position.
What I saw was what a great start it was for El Bamba.
Yep.
He was absolutely on it. He was on the tail of the Audi. He's already looking for position. That's second place for second place. And then the advantage held by Marciello from pole position. Then the avoidance by the two Porsches. They both went in team formation to the left-hand side of our picture. And with the Audi out of the way, Bamba was able to...
Well, Maro Engel tried to hold off Mortara, couldn't, and that's when he lost out to Van der Linde as well. Mortara doing a really good job of holding off Maro Engel. Now we are back with live pictures, but that was a really interesting insight. And I think what happened with Dries van Toor, it wasn't so much a mistake. I think he got bolted a little bit because he got tucked up right behind the leader. And as they went through Mandarin, I think he was keeping more an eye on the man in front rather than position where he was on the track, because he was just a little too far left.
And we know what pace he's got.
Oh, yeah.
And as a result of this qualification race, it means for the World Cup he's going to be starting at the back of the grid.
Yeah.
And we know he's got pace, so that's going to be an interesting journey to watch tomorrow for Dries van Toor.
Now, while we've got a moment, let's just talk about a few other movers. Farfus up to 8th position.
Impressive starter is Farfus,
yeah.
Always. He was last year, he was the year before, and always very, very impressive off the start.
And how about this? Kevin Estre started at the back, he's up to 14th.
So he needs to make up places. We know the Porsche has got speed. We know Kevin Estre has got speed. Qualifying did not go the right way for Kevin Estre yesterday. Yep, he's made up places early on. But Farfus getting the jump on teammate Eriksson and making up places on Wirtz and Imperatori as well. I think
Here you go.
That's one of the stories, isn't it?
See, look, he just touched the wall there, and that's what caused the puncture, but just slightly out of line, and he knew it probably. He was trying to drive both aggressively and defensively at the same time, and it caught him out. But that's Macau for you, folks. The one I'm excited about is that lean, mean green in the middle there of Eduardo Mortara, because he's now put himself in contention. I thought we wouldn't see him in contention, because I said right at the beginning how hard it is to come through from 7th or 8th, but he's made it work. And here is where... Do you know, I think he gets hit from behind here. Watch this. Yeah. Ooh, he was... Ooh. Well, he was almost out of control there. Here we go.
Glance of the barrier on the right.
Yeah.
It's just enough. It's all it takes, isn't it? Just a glance. No room for error. Safety car in.
So, here we go. Green flags wave, and this is an important restart for Marciello, and he's got the run for sure on the Porsches. Mortara tucks himself up behind Van Toor. Van der Linde, very racy so far, and Maro Engel certainly doesn't want to be denied another podium. But Rafael Marciello spreading it out and going very fast through Mandarin. Mortara right there, tucked in behind Van Toor, but Bamba now tucking himself up. Here comes Maro Engel. Engel looking for a way past. Bamba looks for the outside, then the inside. And back to the outside. Maro Engel again in trouble. Almost outbraking himself. Very aggressive through there, the German. But great stuff here at the restart. I said they were the very best in the world. They just proved it.
The manufacturer battle resumes. Mercedes against Porsche right at the front. Few places behind. Audi against Mercedes as well with Van der Linde and Engel. Very good battle indeed that was off the start. We're on board with Mr. Macau, Eduardo Mortara, looking forward to 2 Porsches and a Mercedes.
Yeah, he's going to buy this time now. There's two tactics here in this section. It is to try to be as aggressive as possible and try to force your opponent into a mistake. That said, if you do that, you can also be wound up in that. And the start is under investigation. That's interesting. So we'll see. I did think when we were on board with Mortara how long they held them before they actually started accelerating away, because he had to let off a little bit before he could go again. But yeah, try to force your opponent into a mistake, but in so doing, try to avoid them if they do hit the wall and have a problem. Into Donna Maria.
Those Porsches look very menacing, don't they? Looming down the rowboat racing liveried Porsches of El Bamba and Lawrence Van Tour. Just behind is Eduardo Mortara, and they're all queuing up.
Yeah, Bamba wants past, doesn't he?
Marciello cannot afford to put a wheel wrong, can he? Just the slightest of mistakes, and Bamba's going to be there to pounce.
Well, Bamba is, without doubt, Porsche's #1 driver, in my opinion. He's won Le Mans for them, and he's won everywhere he's been, including Macau for Porsche. And in fact, that's where he got his first major recognition. The youngster from New Zealand. And I say youngster, he's in his 30s now, but still look at him that way. Here we go. The lap completed. Let's take a look at the lap times as they cross the line. 2:18.9 by Marcelli, 2:19.1 by Bamba. Van Toor on a similar pace, and then it drops off just slightly.
0.6 of a second between Bamba and Marciello, the top two. And you can see it graphically there. Not only is Bamba thinking about the leader in front of him, he's also thinking about teammate just behind, Lawrence Van Toor. Very, very close to the back of the Porsche that time.
Very good racing so far, and Marciello doing a really good job of keeping the gap. Here goes Engel, and he's going all the way, and he's taken his teammate out. Oh, that is disaster for Mercedes. Oh, there will be blushes in Stuttgart tonight. That is not the Maro Engel we all know and love, and he is going to be distraught with what he's just done. Because not only has he made his own mistake, he's taken his teammate out, a man who is in a position to potentially take Mercedes to another podium here, and he's just taken a few $1 million worth of Mercedes time and effort.
Both of course, former winners at Macau. Both of them know how to win the race. Let's have a look at it.
And he's having a go at Van der Linde, who defends well, but then he gets on the rumple strips, and he's got nowhere to go.
They've clipped already, I think.
Yeah, they did clip. And poor old...
I think Mara was a little bit of a passenger after that contact, wasn't he?
Yeah. I don't think that... well, I don't think Van der Linde did anything wrong, do you?
No, I think they were close. I think they were very close.
Here we go.
This is it.
Well,
from
you'll see
Mortara's perspective.
He won't know anything. He'll just be turning in.
Yeah.
And then suddenly... Good morning, Mr. Engel. Boom.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's Mortara's car that had the rear-facing camera, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
We might get a good image of that.
So we'll hear that Mortara is out and he's hopped away from the car, and that's good because that was a heavy hit, and I would like to see his rear-facing camera, but we may not get it now.
We're in,
he had the forward on at the time, so we may not get that.
we're in safety car period now.
Yes, we are, and I'm glad we are because, wow, and then when there was one, as they say, because now it's all down to Rafael Marciello. Mercedes were looking good to maybe not have a clean sweep of the podium, but certainly put two of those Mercedes on the podium. But then, sadly,
Can I tell you one of the ironies of this?
Go on.
That Augusto Farfus in the BMW is now in 5th place.
Yes, good point.
Winner from last year is in 5th place, and his teammate, Joel Eriksson, is in 8th position.
Yeah,
Winners of the World Cup last year.
And guess who's in the top 10? Kevin Estre.
Kevin Estre up to top 10 in the 912 numbered car. And Raffaele Marciello, it is that leads. El Bamba, Lawrence Van Toor, Christopher Haas is waving the flag in the yellow Audi. And under the safety car, they all bunch up together.
They do, yeah. 7 laps to go of the 12. And this will be under safety, so it'll be either a 6 or 5 lap sprint, even if we get that. But let's have a look at the damage. We'll see it in a moment when we come down. But you've got the debris and the excavation of both Mortara's car, which will have slammed that barrier pretty hard. But look, he's already gone. Let's have another look.
Have another look. So
he's chasing Kelvin Van der Linde right here, the white car, just behind Mortara. Now, he comes to defend, which is perfectly legal, but then just clips him there. Had he not clipped him, he may have got away with that.
So...
But do you... the fact that he moves slightly across, that's okay?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can't decide.
Yeah.
It
looked like a racing incident to me. It certainly wasn't an aggressive move.
I think I favour that.
Yeah.
It was tight.
Yeah.
Where he was going was tight, but just that...
He was defending his position.
Just that little touch between the two. That we'll wait and see.
Yeah, our job is far less mighty than to start deliberating on that. But there's nothing wrong with talking about it. It's what everybody else will be doing at home. And no further action. There's the well, good. That answers our question. Thank you very much. But yeah, a racing incident. Maro Engel pretty much at fault there. In terms of an aggressive move, he may see it differently, but I think Kelvin was just effectively defending his position. But unfortunately,
and the car that was waving the flag for Audi, so it was important.
Yeah, very important. And now he's dropped down to 13th place and out of this race by the looks of things. I think he's in the pits. Yes, he is.
Yeah, well, we shall wait and see what happens.
They're trying. I'm looking at the mechanics. They're right in front of our commentary position. Kelvin's out of the car. He's getting his helmet back on. They're trying to sort of sort the bodywork out and push it from left to right to try and get him back out there. He's now got the helmet back on, which is always a good sign. So let's see if they send him. Here we are. This is what's going on. There he is in the background with his helmet on. They're just looking at stuff. No, there's a mess back there.
The incident between Mortara and Engel under investigation.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't with Mortara, was it?
No, but that's the one that's under investigation.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mortara isn't going to be called to the stewards for anything.
No.
I was innocently going about my business, sir. Teammate T-boned me.
The stewards are now looking at that, and interestingly, for a GT World Cup, in the top 5 places, we have 4 different manufacturers. So 2 Porsches, a Mercedes, an Audi, and a BMW.
Now, this is going to be interesting because the man we've been talking about, Farfus, who's now, what, 5th in the race, had a fantastic start. This is the original first start, and this is Farfus on the Schnitzer BMW. Here we go into the first corner. He's got one already before he's turned into the first corner. And now watch him here. He's got 2 cars in front of him, weaving side to side. He's got one on the outside. He looks to the inside now, which just lets off a little bit at Mandarin, lets everybody fuss about. Here comes another one. He's past Roelof Bruins. Good start. And now one more is Dries Van Tor, who's out on the left, and now into Lisboa. And that was all he had. Nicely done. Good start. Now up the hill, up towards Hospital. No room to overtake here, but he thinks about it.
Goodness me.
Yeah, he did think about it, didn't he? But a great start from Augusto Farfus. I love to see these sort of vignettes, if you will, of other people's stories.
That's on the back of Christopher Haas's Audi, isn't it? Up through the mountain section they go. Augusto always has a good opening lap.
Yeah. Well, 3 spots made. One of them always because of Dries Van Tor hitting the wall, but even so, still very good start from the Schnitzer man. And he puts himself back into contention. There he is. So, Macau. Surprise, surprise. A little bit of drama.
Every race you can't predict, can you?
I love it.
And who could predict that 2 Audis would go out together?
Yeah, 2 Mercedes.
2 Mercedes.
Yeah, unbelievable, really. And of all people, Maro, who, you know, I mean, yes, he's a fantastic driver, but he's not known for either being overly aggressive or at least playing the percentages. And that's all I would say about that. I don't mind the move.
He's a world-class driver.
Right, but, yeah, I mean, they touched before, and they've not taken any further action, so it is what it is. But either way, and it was just unfortunate. The man in front happened to be Mortara. It could have been anybody.
So, winner of the World Cup for BMW last year, Augusto Farfus in the BMW.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned this man, Christopher Haas, too much. He's right there and flying the flag now for Audi. with Wirtz a little further back in 7th.
He certainly is. I spoke to Christopher before the weekend got underway. Second visit to Macau in the GT Cup. 6th last year. And at the moment running 4th in the Audi behind the 2 Porsches and the Mercedes.
I actually think I'm looking at the crowd in front of me, and they look to be enjoying this more because they can keep their eyes on the cars and really get to see them at slow speed and just how magnificent they are. I mean, that is part of the whole thing here. The whole thrill here is to be this close. There's very few circuits you can go in the world. I mean, you wouldn't get this close to them at the Nürburgring or Paul Ricard or somewhere else, or Suzuka.
Absolutely
You would
true.
not, but these guys are right on top of them on the streets and roaring by.
The grandstands are brilliant as well.
Yeah, it's quite a thrill. I remember coming to the first ever GT race. I think it was won by JJ Leto in the early 90s at Zhuhai.
Wow.
And it was a street circuit at the time because they were basically putting on a street circuit to effectively promote and building an actual international circuit. Nowhere near the prestige of the Macau Grand Prix, mind, but it did bring out a lot of the Macau drivers and a lot of the international drivers, and you could say that was a catalyst to what we're looking at here. And certainly when you consider that we've got both Asian and world-class drivers here, it's grown demonstratively in the last few years in the region, and it's great to see GT racing as strong as it is here in Southeast Asia.
Top 6 then, Rafael Marciello, Mercedes 999, El Bamba, the 98 Porsche, Lawrence Van Tour, the 99 Porsche, Christopher Haas, the number 5 Audi, Augusto Farfus in the Schnitzer number 42 BMW, and Alex Imperatori in the 911 in 6th place.
Pretty cool to have 4 manufacturers in the top 5.
It's a brilliant thing. There are 4 manufacturers here, and each one represented in the top 5 is pretty impressive, albeit unpredictable.
Got to think that the safety car should pull in this time. These cars don't like going this slow, nor do the drivers.
No. The spectators might. They get a good opportunity for a great photo.
Yeah, good eye view.
And when we get this race underway, I'm interested to watch El Bamba. His restarts both times so far have been fantastic, but now we're up one more level, aren't we? Because we have completed 7 laps. Safety cars in this lap, 8 laps complete at the end of this. So theoretically 4 to go.
Yep, and now the Italian in the Mercedes has got to do it all again because he's already done one superb start, and now the opposition, and I'm talking about the 2 Porsches behind him, know exactly, will he mix it up? Will he go earlier? Will he try something new? Because they saw what he did last time, and they're now trying to go with him. And all over the back of him is Bamba. Vantor is there. Haas is there. Got a good restart. Farfus is now in the game. Green flag waves past our commentary position. A fantastic echoing sound around the streets of Macau as GT racing comes alive. And Marciello, once again, here comes Farfus, who's already alongside Haas and past him. Yes, and the BMW makes up 1 class already and now goes in pursuit of the Porsches, and he's already trying to jink his way through. Farfus is on the run, and Haas was easily disposed of there. There's Esther at the back, starting to come through as we go on board now with Farfus. And up the hill. Back down through the gearbox, 2nd gear through here. Just a dab into 3rd for a moment, then it's 2nd gear again, and that's the difference between what we've been watching earlier in the day with the F3. I mean, it's 2nd, 3rd gear through here, and almost way too much power for this part of the circuit, but it's all controlled aggression right now from Farfus.
Just need to remind everybody that car qualified in 12th place, and it's now just taken 4th place.
It's pretty impressive. So, how do you play it if you're a Porsche?
Exactly as El Bamba is doing, applying maximum pressure to the race leader in the Mercedes. How close they come to the barrier there at Donna Maria. Down towards the Macau hairpin, and El Bamba is still tied to the back of the Mercedes. Now, the power goes down.
Yeah, look how close they're all behind now. Coming down, we open up the power bases now, and we'll start to see some of the setup here. Let's see how Farfus can maybe try to eke out some time on him. Let's see how good his straight line speed is. That's where he's been overtaking folks so far. And it'll be interesting to see if he's got his car just set up a little bit more lean and ready for those faster straights compared to the guys in front. We'll soon find out. We'll take a look at the times now. 2:18.3, 2:18.5, 2:19.0. Farfus actually at 2:23.3. So he's slower in the rear section, but this is where he's strong, Farfus. Can he get some purchase now on the top three?
The thing about Augusto is, boy, can he race, and particularly here at Macau.
Yeah, look at the gap he's already pulled away from Christopher Haas. And Bamba stuck to him as though he's being towed by him.
This is the thing to do. He cannot afford Marcello to get a break, and he's doing such a good job. The Mercedes being hounded by the Porsche. Just the tiniest of errors will give Bamba the opportunity.
Well, there's only 0.2 of a second between them in that last lap, and that's completely different cars, completely different humans, probably taking completely different lines, and nothing between them, a blink of an eye.
What a battle this is. Mercedes against Porsche. Lawrence Bantur has dropped back a little bit.
I was about to say, it's becoming a two-way battle, isn't it?
Keeping a watching brief, really, is Lawrence Bantur in third place.
Bamba's just done the fastest second sector over the mountain section by 2/10, and we said it was 2/10 between them last time. So Bamba is on the hurry up and trying to put the pressure down towards police and into the right-hander. Bamba almost banging into the back of the Mercedes.
A little twitch from the Mercedes as well, coming out of the very testing right-hander.
Fascinating battle, this. And they'll be just getting up in Germany to watch a little bit of this, I'm sure. Welcome.
Yeah. Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen, yes, exactly.
And now Mercedes leads Porsche, and BMW. Still, we have 4 manufacturers in the top 5 because Christopher Haas still there in 5th.
And Kevin Estre up to 8th now. He's got ahead of Joel Eriksson. So watch out for Kevin Estre to put himself in a really good position. Here comes Farfus again, but he's losing ground in my opinion. We'll take a look at the times again as Marcello heads towards the strip.
The car hasn't had the outright pace all weekend. However, on safety car restart, when they've all bunched up, he can race, he can take places.
Talking of racing, we're now in the 2:17s. Look at that, 2:17.8 from Marcello, 2:17.8 from Bamba, Vantor 2:17.7.
Overall,
so Vantor's quicker, yeah.
Yeah, 2:17.7 for the car in 3rd place.
And Farfus cannot stay on that pace. He did a 2:19.6 last lap. So it really is becoming a 3-way race now. And Vantor realizes that if he's going to stay with these two, he's going to have to put a shift on.
10 laps in the book, 12-lap race, this qualification race, and what a dramatic race it's been, as ever it is here at Macau. Rafael Marcello took pole position yesterday. Is he going to take a victory at Macau today on Saturday?
You wouldn't bet against Bamba making a really good lunge at some point, and not what you'd expect. I've seen Bamba do some outrageous stuff here at Macau. He's got such good car control and feel for a car. That's always been his ability. Started in single-seaters like so many of them, and quickly went into sports car racing. And ironically, Bamba is a really good story. Would you believe it? Brendan Hartley taught him to drive. I can't remember which way around it is. It's one of the other. But they grew up together effectively. But Bamba was one of those guys that didn't have the money. He didn't have the money to go big and go into single-seaters. And it was his pure skill of being able to get in a car and drive it fast. And when he was noticed by Porsche, they plucked him out of Asia and said, right, we need you in the Super Cup. And he said, all right, well, I'll win that then. And they said, well, okay, that was your second challenge. I think now we'll put you in a works team and send you to Le Mans.
winning Le Mans in 2015 for Porsche. And a bit of a wiggle coming out of the Macau hairpin. Once again, we step up a gear in the closing stages of this qualification race.
Taking my hat off to Marciello. He's doing a really good job here.
He hasn't put a wheel wrong, has he?
He's been up in the splits again. Vantor did the fastest second split this time, and that's kept him in the hunt. But Marciello is holding station. He's controlling this race. He's not being intimidated. Let's have a look at his time this. I've got a feeling he might have upped the pace, and he has. 2:17.7 again, 2:17.9 by Bamba, 2:17.9 by Vantor. Rafael Marciello just put in the best lap of his race so far. In fact, the whole race. So the fastest lap by Marciello at just the right time as we head on to the final lap.
The BMW of Augusto Farfus in fourth place seems to have the measure of the Audi just behind, so he looks comfy in fourth place, but he can't do anything about the top three.
Watch Kevin Estrie here. He's coming through. He's looking for a way past. He's already up to 8th position, and there you see him trying to get through on Wirtz, just ahead in the all-gold Audi. So plenty of battles going on throughout. Farfus, though, has dropped off, but has got himself in a really good position for the second race. Maybe they can make some adjustments. Look at Estrie. He's really pushing on now. There's Joel Eriksson. There's Adelaide Fong. Adelaide up into the top 10. That's a good recovery after the damage from yesterday. Now, where are the leaders? This is the last lap. And again, Vantor putting down some really quick sector times. Here they come. And this is a good battle. I'll tell you what, even though Christopher Haas was overtaken by Farfus, he hasn't given up the ghost. He's still going there, and he's still pushing hard on the BMW as they head through Moorish Hill. Ooh, look how close they are to the walls. You really see it when you're on board and looking back into Donna Maria. Almost parking it in the back of the car in front. As Haas comes into Melco, gives him a little nudge, does he? No, not quite. Here come the leaders, down the hill for the last time. Rafael Marciello of Italy in the German marque that is Mercedes. A beautifully painted all-green car taking on the two Porsches who were favoured here. But Marciello put in a brilliant lap in qualifying, and he's done a brilliant race to come out of the last corner take the checkered flag. Brilliantly done by Rafael Marciello, who set the fastest lap on the penultimate lap to just break the toe that Bamba was creating. Bamba takes second and Vantor takes third. No harm, no foul for Porsche today. They were beaten, I'm afraid, by the start of the race and restart twice, remember. So it wasn't a fluke. Rafael had to do it 3 times to get the jump on those chasing, and he did it with aplomb.
And fourth place maintained by Augusto Farfus, winner of the World Cup last year, and he can be very proud indeed of that performance, just outside the podium places. But how many places did he make up? Goodness me, from 12th on the grid. Very, very impressive. The BMW has not quite had the pace of the Porsches or the Audis or the Mercedes this weekend, but racing at Macau is something altogether different. And when you get the safety cars, it's all about making up those places on the restart. Augusto Farfus did that in exemplary style.
Immaculate race. You can't fault it. He was put under a lot of pressure early on and late on too. Got to say that you've got to think that either way you look at it, it's going to be pretty much a race between Mercedes and the two Porsches, because look at Farfus, 2:19. Unless they adjust that car to be a little bit more competitive, I don't see him figuring. Haas could get by early, who knows?
But it could. If we get the same situation tomorrow, we get a safety car, Farfus does a great restart, takes a place, maintains that position, defends perfectly. Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows?
Never say never. Wow, catch your breath, folks. Another GT race in the books. Wherever you're tuning in around the world, we welcome you to Macau. It's been a great weekend so far. The 66th running of the Macau Grand Prix bears thinking about, doesn't it? That 66 years of constant racing every year here in Southeast Asia. And Farfus happy with his job, I think.
And rightly so. Waving to the crowd. And the marshals right the way around the circuit.
Yes, he's been helped by them over the years. But you can't fault that. You talked to Rafael Marciello, and the first thing you said was, how cool was he? And yeah.
A very cool, calm, collected, pretty short answers as well, because he knew he was about to get into the car and get ready. The last thing in the world he wanted was a TV crew all of a sudden wanting some answers, because they'd had the word 10 minutes until the start of the race. A race that was, through technical reasons, delayed a little at the start, but Marciello kept it cool, calm and collected and did not put a single wheel wrong.
No, he didn't, and he was under immense pressure, the Italian, and like I said, he's been coming here since 2012. He's yet to win the Macau Grand Prix, but I suppose he has now. That's a qualification race win. That counts, absolutely. And there's the sight of the two Motor Oil Porsches.
Laurens Vanthoor climbing out of the Porsche. He won one of these GT races at Macau, didn't he? Very unusual circumstances a few years ago.
Yes. What? Upside down?
On the roof.
Yeah. Yes, that was kind of bizarre, wasn't it?
And the victorious Rafael Marciello appears down in Parc Fermé. We'll have a podium for this race, and Ian Titchmarsh, the circuit commentator here at Macau in English language, will hopefully get a word with our drivers. Marciello out of the car, as cool as you like, takes off the gloves.
Another day at the office for an AMG driver.
He'll be finding out a few stories of what happened to the other Mercedes drivers during that race. He might not know too much about it. It was all behind him.
Yes, of course he missed it, so he won't be aware.
Out come the earbuds.
Not even drawing sweat, is he?
All part of a day at work.
Yep. So let's have a confirmation of the result then. Rafael Marciello in the Mercedes 999 wins ahead of the two Porsches of Il Bamba and Laurens Vanthoor, one from New Zealand, one from Belgium. Augusto Farfus moved the BMW up to 4th place after a lowly start, and Haas in the lone top 5 Audi in 5th place, Imperatori in 6th, then Wirtz in 7th place. Kevin Estre moved up to 8th. Joel Eriksson was 9th. Adderley Fong 10th. Rudolf Brunens was in 11th place. And a little further down, Eliseo Picarello was actually taken off the grid, if you remember, at the start. And Kelvin van der Linde also crashing out. Eduardo Mortara crashed out by Miro Engel and Chen and Dries Vanthoor. Dries Vanthoor was the first man out. And it's going to be interesting to see what
really
all those strong... I'm very disappointed for him. But he and Miro Engel will be coming from the back tomorrow.
And there is the Audi. What a sad sight.
I know.
That will look showroom condition tomorrow.
Yes, it will. Yep. I've seen it many a time. I've predicted all of them. Never fix that. But they do. Rafael will make his way as quickly as he can to the podium. He's a tall figure, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a really tall guy.
I can understand why. I think single-seaters might be a bit tough.
Chatting to Simon Mellerich, who is the press delegate for GTs and F3 for this weekend for the FIA.
So let's take a look back at the highlights of our first GT qualification race. It was all smiles and all waves to the cameras at the start, but then the lights didn't work. We had to wait. Finally, we sorted that out. Quick snack, and away we went. Rolling start as ever. Dries Vanthoor got away well, but was squeezed out by Rafael Marciello, fairly, you may add. And as they came through Mandarin, Dries van Tor just got a little too much and went a little too wide and was out of the race. Another spin for David Chen, and out went the Chinese driver in the 66 Audi. Van Tor, then came Maro Engel, and taking out his teammate Mortara in a very dramatic fashion. Sadly, as you can see, Mortara hardly aware of that, and that will have hurt. And yep, he's already spraying the knee from where he got bruised, probably. Restart, and away went Marciello, and again, the pack of Porsches that were Van Tor and Bamber went in pursuit. Kevin Estrie, bit by bit, making his way through the grid. Marciello was under pressure, no doubt about it, from one of the specialists here at Macau, Earl Bamber, and one of Porsche's finest. But it was Mercedes who was smiling at the end, because Marciello did not put a foot wrong, and Rafael did the business here at Macau to win the qualification race for GTs. They'll be back in action again tomorrow, but it's Group M who are smiling. And Rafael who takes the laurels.